Well, hello. My name is Frank Lavinia, and I haven't streamed in a while, but I figured this would be a good time to do so. Um, I'm actually, I've actually been quite busy lately, and in good ways. Um, Many of you know or don't know, because depending on how much of my stuff you read, we actually have added a new member to the family. He is a cousin and he came to live with us about a month ago, and he is quite the joy. I'm actually hanging out with him here. I can't put him on camera due to various privacy regulations that we have to adhere to, but suffice to say, he is super cute. And once we're no longer adherent, we have to adhere to said regulations. He'll pop on the live stream now and then. He's currently enjoying a nice sea breeze. Um, a nice little bottle by the sea. We are taking a bit of a vacation. It's been a wild year. I'm not gonna lie. It's been in good ways and bad ways, and all the ways. It's been good, but it's been an interesting challenge. Just getting this little guy to come live with us took quite a bit of effort and logistics. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. And we're actually enjoying kind of the seaside here um, in beautiful South Carolina, and figured it would be a good opportunity to kind of talk about some of the happenings in AI. So about almost a month ago now, no, like 3 weeks ago, um, I spoke at the Microsoft office in Reston for the AI, OpenAI, and ChatGPT boot camp, and had a really good talk there on using GitHub Copilot. And I have to tell you, it has changed the way I write code. It has changed the way I think about writing code. Right? I wrote I want to do this thing where I can kind of scrape a website. So going back to the Windows Phone era, one of the things I wrote was a utility kit to scrape web screens, and if you couldn't get an API access to a particular thing. This was done to create Windows Phone versions of popular applications. So I had written this tool, this utility, and it's open source. It's on my GitHub. It was actually also in CodeZone for the longest time. For those who don't remember, but it was a way to kind of. I should probably do a live stream about that. Um, I actually should look at the code. But anyway, I've been porting a lot of my old C# stuff over to Python, just because why not? And OpenAI, the GitHub Copilot has been very instrumental in making that happen. In fact, there's one thing I want to do is I want to pull down traffic data for the Washington D.C. area. Normally, I live in the D.C. area. And kind of display it in one console, right, or one kind of portal. I think the example I gave at the boot camp for OpenAI was I want to create kind of this Raspberry Pi powered solution that I can display traffic and other weather conditions and things like that, family calendars and stuff like that in real time on a display, like in the kitchen, right? Kind of like a family calendar. And but also kind of like what you see in a lot of malls, at least Tyson's Corner has this. I think the mall at Columbia Town Center has it too, where they show kind of various transit events, and like they show transit information when the next train is coming, as well as traffic in the area. And if you've ever been to the Tyson's area, it's always fun. Um, but again, this was something that I just was in my idea board, like in my head or on a back of an envelope somewhere, and I just never had the time to implement it. Obviously, I got a lot going on. Two podcasts, the blog, three children now, a bunch of dogs. Oh yeah, and a full time job too. Um, and it's just something I just never would have written. And in 5 minutes while on vacation, I got like the stub of it, and I can pull down now traffic information. And I've been experimenting with it, kind of just seeing like how would you do this. So for this, I actually used ChatGPT. So I took the HTML of the website I wanted to scrape for traffic information. I'm not going to give it out just yet because, and I just basically said, hey, could you write Python code that can pull out all the relevant traffic data? And here's the HTML I want to scrape it from. Boom, I had it in like 30 seconds. It's not how I would have done it. It's certainly not how I would have done it with the Screenscraper utility kit, which I am pondering porting over to Python. I really need to think about that because I don't know. I suppose I could just have the code, the AI just move port it from C# to Python. What do you have to say, mister? And there's no regulation for him to not talk on camera. He was just babbling a minute ago. The rest of the folks, they're out enjoying a nice little ride on what are those called, jet skis. I decided to stay home, stay on shore, and kind of watch and just chill out with the newest member of the family. So it's interesting to see how that changed, right? I mean, before I just would have taken the C# code and just kind of like converted it, or not at all, right? The origins of the Screenscraper utility kit go back to the Windows Phone era. And I noticed that there were certain websites. I think Text from Last Night was probably the one where it started, where there was no Windows version of it. And so I basically was like, well, the data's there, right? You can't stop the signal. So I wrote a solution to do it, and worked pretty well. In fact, it was one of the most successful Windows Phone apps, actually. It was ad supported. I didn't charge for it, mostly around the legalities around screen scraping are a little gray. Let's just put it that way. And I was trying to stay on the right side of the law there. The other thing I was going to say was I had brought it out of retirement, so to speak, for Windows 8 applications. And I worked for public sector, right? So, if you had a government website that didn't have an API or anything like that, it is by nature public information. So I was able to successfully use that. And so it was an interesting, I have a comment. What do we got? Hola. Well, hello to you, sir. Trying to see what platform that is. Oh, I know who that is. How you doing, man? He changed his name, but I recognize the. How you doing, man? I'll have to send you a picture. I saw a picture of a bird statue. It's not real. Figured you'd get a kick out of that. Yes. Where was I? So we're just hanging out here. I think he actually fell asleep. My man here. Can I do chat overlay? How did that look? Now it kind of chunks it. Portrait mode. They need to work on a little bit on this. Yeah. So the next thing I was going to say was I'm thinking about porting it over to Python because I think it would be very useful. And part of what makes me ponder that, right, is Beautiful Soup is a fine library for screen scraping, right, and web scraping, right? So it's kind of a solved problem. However, I have noticed that Beautiful Soup doesn't have an abstraction layer. At least I haven't found it yet, right? So let's put it out there. That one of the things that I added to the Screen Scraper utility kit, and this happened, true story, big meeting, and I had basically it was the DC traffic web app that I would pull from a website, and they redesigned the stupid site. So I realized as I was demoing it, it would fail, right? And I was like, what changed? They revamped the whole website. And then, going back and resubmitting a new version of the app, I mean, totally could do it, but it would take months. Not months. I mean, it would take days, right? Not days I didn't have. So that got me thinking on the plane ride home. On the plane ride home, I was like, how can I separate that? So I created this layer of abstraction saying, these are what I call definition files, right? And this is all stuff that's on the GitHub. It's look for Screen Scraper utility kit or something like that. The C# version is out there. So I had this idea of definition files, right? And the idea was, all right, for traffic data, you need to look between here and here, right? And it would basically define the HTML that was the bounding box. Oh, cool, helicopter. It was that. So that was the idea. And then that way, if that were to happen again, all I'd have to do is change the definition file. The code would remain the same. I don't see that in Beautiful Soup, right? Which so that leaves me like a question, right? Should I port all my stuff over the Screen Scraper utility kit from C# as it is to Python, or should I use Beautiful Soup and create some kind of module that would interact with Beautiful Soup? We're basically saying like, here's the HTML you want to work with. This is what you want to pull out. I don't know. I haven't really decided yet, because when I did the ChatGPT, like, here, extract from the HTML this information, it imported Beautiful Soup, and it worked great. So it's just a question of, these are the more interesting things when it comes to building systems, right, or even open source projects, things like that. It's more the philosophical discussions, right? And again, I guess there's really no way for AI to do this. Well, I suppose. Speaking of AI, it's been a pretty wild week. I saw a couple of things. Microsoft is doing a bunch of stuff in terms of using generative AI in government. Saw a couple of interesting posts on LinkedIn about that. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but he is a Yankees fan, so shout out to my fellow Yankees fans out there. Haven't heard any confirmation on that room temperature superconductor. I hope, I want it to be real, but I suspect it's not. Speaking of superconductors, I have my Quantum t-shirt on. We are going to get the season going. I actually found a new calendaring solution. So while I'm on vacation, I'm going to see about getting that started, and hopefully I can get the production cycle back up again. Speaking of data driven has a lot of shows in the pipeline, and I'm going to release them out kind of in a end of summer blast, maybe, kind of data driven dog days of summer or something like that. I don't know. Y'all know how I love my alliterations. But yeah, so it's interesting what's going on. I think we closed the deal on Red Hat OpenShift AI. More on that when I have more to say on that. That was actually the other day. I gave a pitch about a week ago. They like what they saw. And if you want to learn more about Red Hat OpenShift AI, I have some videos on there, or you can just go to YouTube. If you type in what is OpenShift Red Hat OpenShift Data Science, you can do that. Also, a colleague of mine, Erwan, has a video that's out there, highlighted on franksworld.com. You can check that out. And yeah, that's a lot of good stuff. I also read today that apparently Anthropic is going to start making Claude accessible through an API. Presumably, there'll be a free version and a paid version. But what has me excited a lot about Claude over kind of the others is that Claude has an ability to have in its, I guess, memory. Yeah, memory would work. It's not quite memory, but it can register. It can have conversations as long as 100,000 tokens, which I think is an underrated metric. Believe the book example that they gave is that it can have the entire Great Gatsby loaded into its memory. This is close to like twice what the current state of the art is from OpenAI. I'm not exactly sure what the number is on Llama, but it's closer to that. So think about this: you can load it with a book, or at least that size of a book, and ask it questions. Right now, we're probably not that far off from I want to load it with the entire text of The Great Gatsby, and I could ask the AI, "Hey, could you write a sequel to this? Or could you write a prequel to this? Could you do this? Could you?" I mean, we're not that. You probably do it now, but the fact that you would have every nuance of the story in its memory, that opens up a lot of interesting possibilities. Also saw the phrase Napster moment for AI. A lot of these large language models are trained with information on the internet. I think the New York Times is planning to sue OpenAI, Twitter, Elon Musk, X, whatever it's called, has announced that they're going to sue because the information from Twitter was gleaned without that. So it's an interesting time here, right? If you're old enough to remember what the pre-Napster days of the internet were, when copyright law wasn't really widely enforced, it it was a different time, and I think that the freewheeling days of AI are going to be coming to an end soon, just through regulations, lawsuits, and things like that. So enjoy it while it lasts. The other thing I would add was it is a beautiful day by the sea, I have to say. Um, we're just hanging out here under an awning and just enjoying nature. My pal here fell asleep. Um, so, but how are things out there on the internet? Uh, now, um, hope you're doing all right. Cuco del Diablo, which is, was it the Devil's Cuckoo Bird? Um, I first saw that name. I'm like, who is that? And then I recognized the avatar. Um, but yeah, it's a beautiful day here at the beach, and I'm always thinking about AI, and always thinking about this. What's really funny was I don't know why I thought this. I saw a road sign the other day, and it was announcing construction, and it had a URL at the bottom, like for more information, visit this, and that got me thinking, like there was a time when a URL on an official government like website or on the on official like road sign just would not have been a thing, just not have been a thing, and now it's like, well, what's the big deal? I wonder what the future holds in terms of, is it going to be an AI generated song? I don't know. Like, I know it's crazy to think about, but recently, when you get a new child into your life, you think about what the world they're growing up is like, going to be like. And I often wonder, like with my oldest, I wrote an article about this in Frank Diggs Data, my LinkedIn newsletter. Go check it out. Um, but basically, like my oldest, he was born just around the time of the iPad revolution. So touchscreens for him were just natural, right? To the point where when he was a toddler, if he encountered the TV or a screen that was not touchscreen, he would turn and say, it's broken. Um, or just broken, right? My second child really, I think, um, grew up with Alexa, right? So he would say, he would talk to Alexa, like, and he was able to type and stuff like that messages before he could read or write because he used Siri transcription. Um, so he was really kind of that voice generation. This guy, child number three, I really wonder, like, he was born before ChatGPT was rolled out, but only like a couple months. And I wonder what his world is going to look like. What is his, for him, generative AI is always going to been around. It's always going to have been a thing. What does that look like? What does his world look like in terms of that? I don't know. Like it's a fascinating thought. Um, what if there was a street sign that would read your tags, right, and know you're from out of state, and then just flash up, hey, you're from out of state, you're visiting. Like, keep in mind that this is a traffic flow here, or like, what would that look like, right? And what's the creepy factor of that? Because a lot of things in AI really ride that line of cool and creepy. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna go enjoy the sea. I brought a book, didn't bring the laptop, so no temptation to do anything. um, but it is beautiful here, and enjoy your Saturday wherever you are, and enjoy the moment. This is Frank. I'm signing off from the shores of South Carolina. I'm trying to find the outro graphic to keep this high production value.